Video archive 63, live person long. All righty. As you can see here on my screen, this is the trade. Disregard the stop loss. Well, I'll explain that in a second. Now, let me zoom out so you can see kind of the context of the price here. So we had a big impulse move up, lower highs, or I guess that would be and then we had this convergent structure that we gap down out of. Just curious, let's test if the full liquidity, that might be a bit generous. The full liquidity got expressed. Yeah, as you can see, it did. Then we had a reaction. All right, with divergence here. Price came up, failed in the gap, failed at the previous support here, previous resistance here. Gap down again. Let me just quickly check this. Did we get this kind of liquidity expressed to the downside? That's literally the size of the gap. So we got two deviations of that. Also, let's just quickly explore if this is any sort of so I took my entry here at the 886. The main reason for entry, this was an order I had on the books because I was looking at this 88 cent level, which I will drop a horizontal at. You can see it's a significant area. It's where this big impulse move up to 208 happened. Where it started from, right? It's resistance, oops, resistance, support, resistance, 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 previous gap, not in price during this impulse down, resistance, I guess briefly support, resistance, and then look at that, right where we had that huge gap up here. So it's a significant horizontal level. So I just had an order set to accumulate some shares there. My order was set at 88 cents. I took an exit at 94 cents. It was almost a 7% gain, and it lasted about 35 minutes, the trade. If I go down here to the 3 minute, you'll see the reason I took the entry was the things I just said, plus you can see the divergence here on the RSI. And there's this consistent, not every time, but there's a pretty consistent signature you get on the RSI when you get these big gap downs. And it's this, right? When you get that big gap down, you get a huge dump in momentum to the downside. Or I guess you'd call that an increase in bearish momentum. And then you kind of get this floating back up towards the center line. And so the way that manifests on price will be floating back up towards the bottom of the gap. And then how price reacts at the bottom of the gap there is informative within itself. But the idea behind this trade originally was just having orders set to accumulate at certain levels that I'm interested in the stock. And it turned into me just trading it back up to the beginning of the gap because there's a bunch of information like reverse split and dilution coming out about this that I didn't fully understand. So I just wanted to be quick with my risk, take my profit, get out and kind of see how price develops, wait for some proper confirmation of some moves to the top side. So that's that trading back towards the gap, which as you can see, if I had been a little more patient, I would have actually got back to the gap there. And where I exited, we weren't even close to the center line. I mean, we weren't even close to the center line on any time frames. Maybe if I go to the 1 minute, but I'm usually looking at like the 30 minute to trade that back up to the center line on the RSI, which I'll quickly play price out here. And you can see we didn't quite get to the center line on the 30, on the 15. That's perfectly where it went. And then, so we had that bearish posturing, which you wouldn't expect, or I didn't expect to break on the first time, given the big gap down and the breaking of, this diagonal. Then also, let me just drop a horizontal here at about 94. And let's explain the significance of that horizontal real quick. As you can see, it's fairly significant. I guess it's not quite as significant at that 88 cent level. You got some support and resistance in there, resistance, a little bit of resistance in there, resistance in there. in the zone of resistance. I guess that goes up to about 96 cents. Uh, support, resistance, support, resistance, support. So that was the horizontal wasn't as significant of a reason to exit. The main reason was just doing that, trading that specific signature where you get the big gap down and you trade it back up to um the beginning of the gap, which you can see like right here. You get that same thing, right? You get that RSI floating up to the center line, but price only went up. It didn't even get to the right. It failed here at 105. It didn't even get to the 108. So those pennies can make a difference. You can miss your trade out there. So I wasn't following this with a stop loss or anything. I just picked an arbitrary target. I had a little bit of reasoning behind it and took my profits there. That is my trade. See you in the next one.